What's going on, everybody? Meko here with Pride of Detroit, here joined with a special guest, Morgan Cannon, one of the writers over at prideofdetroit.com. And in today's video, we're going to do something that I don't think we've ever done on this channel. So this is going to be first run. If it's a little rocky, give us a little bit of grace. But yo, me and Morgan are actually going to take the time in today's video to highlight three big plays that came out of this Lions-Chiefs game that took place this past Thursday, and try to highlight exactly what took place to allow these momentous, types of plays to take place on the field and the type of effect it had on the game going forward, and just kind of just explain what happened with these plays and why they were so impactful to the Lions win against the Kansas City Chiefs. But before we get into that, Morgan, what's good with you, man?
Still basking, right? Still basking in the, what is it, Victory Monday. It's Victory Monday for us, even though we won a couple weeks ago, or a couple days ago, excuse me, but it's Victory Monday.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to let go of this until I've said like Wednesday, I'm going to start moving on to Seattle. But as far as today, like I'm still very much into like, again, just basking in the fact of like, again, they did the impossible. They did what not many people thought they could do. And so, yeah, like with that said, let's kind of jump into the first play that we want to highlight. And that being like the play of Aiden Hutchinson, right? Like Hutch went into this season after, having a really good rookie campaign, 9.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, and all of that. Going into this year, there was obviously the expectation that he would elevate his game to another level. And I feel like it's fair to say that in this Chiefs game, he did just that.
Yeah, I think he had a great game. Just went crazy at the end of the day. Like they moved him around. He obviously gave Jawaan Taylor a really hard time, as evidence. He was lined up. I didn't have as much problem with the false starts. Like veterans get away with that. They like get that kick going right as the center moves the ball, and you can really nitpick it. But he was lined up in the backfield, just in terms of like where he was lining up during a lot of those pass sets. So yeah, in Hutch, they obviously moved him around on the edge, moved him inside, where the Lions, that's where Aaron Glenn kind of implements his version of the NASCAR package, right? He's going to go, we're going to have some combination of James Houston and then Charles Harris in this case. And then you had Hutchinson and John Kaminsky lined up on the inside at the 3 technique. So that's where we're creating mismatches, and it worked several times against the Chiefs, but really Hutch was causing mayhem wherever he lined up. His win rate, I believe, was like 20.7%, which is astronomically high. That's in the tier of the Bosas and the Myles Garretts of the world. So if you want to, we can get into it if you want to, Meko.
Yeah. Let's jump into the first play that we got here. So again, kind of highlighting what you're talking about. So this was what, 3rd down, I believe. So yeah, kind of just like walk us through. I'm going to run it for the first clip, and then we can kind of roll it back and just kind of break down some of the things that are happening in this play. But yeah, like you said, this is Hutch kind of lined up on the interior.
Yep.
And yeah, like that's dominance from your premier pass rusher, rushing from the inside right there.
Yeah, and like once it gets back to the front, I'll give this a little more context too. So like we mentioned earlier, we got James Houston and Charles Harris on the edges, and then you got Kaminsky and Hutch on the interior. And Hutch also draws a holding at the end of this play. So the flag that's being thrown by the referee in the back, the top right of your corner or top right of your screen, he's going to throw a flag. So this is ending in a punt, whether or not this is caught or not. So if you want to run it again, Meko, and then pause it right after he snaps it. So boom, right here. So right here, Hutch beat his hands. He's got really active hands. That's something I noticed the whole film when I was rewatching this game over the weekend. His hands were active, man. That's why Jawaan Taylor was shaking in his boots so much, handling him. So he's getting active hands, and then he immediately rips under with that right hand. And he's got a pretty good, for being 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is, he's tall. He's got pretty good bend here, and he's getting low, and he's getting under the guard. And you can play it whenever, Meko. And then, makes Mahomes step up. 65 holds. James Houston comes free. Good job by James Houston to keeping his eyes on Mahomes and staying level with him. And then Mahomes throws it away.
In your opinion, like what is it about Hutch in this scenario that is such a mismatch, against an interior offensive lineman?
Yeah, so like he was dominant against Juwan Taylor and the tackles, right? So you move him into like the 3 tech or like the 1 tech even, and he's working against a guard or a center. That's just when these centers aren't really these interior offensive linemen, minus a few, right? Minus a handful of like the elites of the elites, aren't really used to seeing like a 6'6", 6'7", 200 and whatever. He's probably 280 now, 285 if I had to guess. And he's got really active hands. His arms aren't that long, but he's still going to work them, right? He's going to work his long arm. He's going to work his rip. It's just a different animal, right? You know, it's one thing when you're dealing with like Fletcher Cox or like Ed Oliver or Ali McNeil even, right? Like some of these strong, powerful interior defensive linemen. But it's another thing entirely when you roll someone like Hutchinson or Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa on the interior, and then or even, you know, Aaron Donald's skill set, right? Like
Yeah,
this is why Aaron Donald has been terrorizing teams for years and years, is because he's obviously very strong. He's fast, but he's got super active hands, and he's got an array of pass rush moves. He's not one of these guys that just has a bull or a long arm and a rip. Like he has a whole bunch of stuff he can hit you with.
obviously we got to break down the pick six. Can you kind of like tee up for us, like just again how that series kind of broke down and how we got to that, you know, critical play in the game?
So you had the Jack Campbell PBU down the seam. You had the Brian Branch run fit on 2nd down. So now it's 3rd down, and Jerry Jacobs was in good coverage with Tony. Like he was in phase. He was right there. Was able to like get his hands in and around the football, which is where you want to be as a DB. But credit to Brian. Like, yes, it hit Tony's hands, but credit to Brian Branch for being where he was supposed to be. And that's that's what happens. Sometimes the football gods will bless you more often than not if you're in position and doing where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to do. So we can roll.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard it said somewhere before that like luck is kind of when like skill and preparation kind of meet, right? And in this situation, I think that's very much the case when we look at this play, which is again breaking down the fact of like, yo, Brian Branch is doing his job in this situation, and the fact that like again, understanding his responsibilities and not getting lost in the shuffle is kind of what kind of creates this opportunity for him, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like he's one thing I noticed too throughout watching this film is how much the DBs are talking compared to last year. Like you constantly see Kirby and CJ Gardner Johnson talking back and forth. You see Jerry talking to Branch while Branch is down in the nickel. So like, yeah, Branch sees 83 go in motion towards the center. You have Mahomes working out of the gun. Sorry for the barking. And yeah, you got Jerry Jacobs in phase, and Brian Branch is coming downhill. He like sees it now because he knows 83 is no longer his responsibility. So he's working back down to where he needs to be. And yeah, he's just right place, right time, catches the ball, turns on the burners. I was surprised with how fast he is, man. He said,
yeah, that does not look like 4.5 speed. That is not 4.5 speed whatsoever.
He said, "What 40 time? I don't care what 40 time. Look, I'm football fast." Yeah, he wasn't it like I think they timed him. It was like 20.7 miles per hour or something.
Yeah, I think he recorded like one of the fastest times like on the field as far as like any given play. So like,
man.
But there was a part in this play that I really like that you mentioned, right? So understanding responsibilities, like you were saying, right? And understanding that at this point in time, clearly like his zone is in this area, right? Mm-hmm. But like you said, with 83 cutting through, he has to kind of help in this, in this area between, himself and I believe this linebacker was, I want to say this was Jack Campbell.
I think it's Malcolm with the. I think he's got the long arm sleeve there.
Yeah,
play it a little more, and we'll see in a little bit here. But yeah, it was Malcolm. I can tell because he's short.
Yeah. So, which I mean, again, we could do a whole other video about how they utilize Malcolm in these passing down situations because that wasn't something I was expecting. But
me neither.
But again, like Brian Branch understanding his responsibility and not just again understanding that like, hey, I have to carry this man into this zone because my safeties are only going to be so deep and my linebacker has to take the crosser here. But once he gets deep enough, I understand that I can leave him and go back to my original zone, which again, even if Kadarius Toney had caught this ball, like Brian Branch is beelining it to be able to even like again get a tackle for limited gain or possibly like dislodge this football, right?
Yep, he's exactly where he needs to be. And there's a good amount of Brian Branch looking at Mahomes too, because technically, if you're looking at the freeze frame here, Mahomes already thrown the ball, but like the guy in the middle of the field between the hashes is open, 83.
Yeah.
But he knows at that point, so they're in a two high zone, right? You got Kirby and CJ Gardner Johnson splitting the field in twos. So they're going to, and they sat in this, which was interesting when I was watching the film. They sat in the two high zone a lot, and they were almost daring Mahomes to run, which is an interesting strategy.
Yeah.
But I guess you're not getting beat deep if you do that. So you're making them earn it, in theory.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah,
but they sat in that a lot. I was surprised. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. I think that was one of the things that was really surprising, especially because obviously this play takes place in the second half, and Mahomes had ran quite a bit in the first half, and they kind of like found a way of corralling him and putting him in situations where, like, hey, you're gonna have to throw the ball. You're either gonna have to throw it away, or you're gonna have to try to make a tough throw in coverage. But they really kind of limited the lanes that he had. So, yeah, I wanted to get to like kind of where you're saying where like Brian Branch is kind of keeping his eyes on Mahomes. And so I would assume like even here, right, the ball's been snapped.
Yeah, get it to the top of the route for 83, and then we can look at the freeze frame there. Boom, right there. Okay, so like right now, Mahomes still has the ball, and Mahomes' eyes are fixed like he's looking at 11, right? He's looking at the crosser, or he's looking at 11. The crosser is Toney with Jerry Jacobs right behind him. And then you have Malcolm coming down to cover 83 right there on the Chiefs logo. And then you have CJ and Kirby deep. So right now, Brian Branch knows he's, that the guy at the bottom of the screen is running a go. It looks like Cam Sutton's there with him. So Branch knows at this point, I can just make a decision, and he's watching him a little more. Let's see if you can bring it forward a little bit more, Meko. So yeah, still watching the eyes, and now he's going. At this point, he's making his mind up. He's like, all right, we're gonna go meet this guy here. So
yeah, and so I think again, great play by a rookie, and being able to understand what's happening in these route combinations, right? Being able to stay disciplined, not get happy feet, not get pulled away by the tight end in this situation. So again, this obviously this play leads into 6 points that eventually with the added field goal is what ties this game and puts the Lions right back in it. Because again, if we're looking at how this game was kind of trending at that point, like it never felt like the Lions were out of it, but it just like they needed a break. They needed something to kind of go their way. And Dan Campbell kind of talked about it and that it probably needed to be a turnover or something of that kind. And they got just that at that right moment.
Yeah, man, that couldn't have came at a better time. Like they kind of needed that momentum swing. I know Jeremy's favorite topic is momentum. So if you ever want to ask about that, yeah, they needed something to break their way, and right place, right time. And Brian Branch, I guess we should have known he was always going to play right away, like a lot. Just like the man started for Nick Saban as a freshman in the secondary, which is unheard of because Nick Saban's baby is the secondary. That's like what his roots are.
Yeah.
There's a reason Alabama corners are always, highly sought after prospects from, going into the NFL. So I guess we should have known better. And yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, fortunately, I guess fortunately, like Brad Holmes and the coaching staff knew better. So they knew exactly what they were getting and exactly what they could expect for him to contribute. But speaking of contributors,
traded up for him. Gosh,
yeah, no, you're good. I think speaking of contributors, though, another big contributor in this game was David Montgomery, and I think it was a little slow going. But when the Lions needed, Demo to kind of really showcase himself, like he did it in the biggest way with the touchdown run that kind of put the Lions, up on the Chiefs. So with that said, like let's take a look at that play, kind of start to break it down a bit, and just kind of walk through what is exactly happening in this play. Let me go back to the beginning of it really quick. So here you have both Jonah Jackson and I believe this is Sam Laporta, right?
Yeah,
that you have circled here.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to give a little context as far as why you have those two guys circled and you know, before the plays actually even ran?
Yep. So you're going to watch them pull, right? So the Lions do a fair amount of gap scheme running. So they run zone. I think Dan Campbell talked about it today. The Lions do a lot of different like types of running. They're not married to a zone. They're not exclusively like a zone running scheme. They're not exclusively a gap scheme. They do it all. So they throw a lot of looks at you. And this is one of them, right? So you're going to watch Jonah and Laporta pull. And this run is going to be to the right, like towards Vaitai and Panay and Brock Wright over there. Okay, so you have two tight ends, and just go ahead and play it to where he's just about to hand the ball off. Meko, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. So keep your eyes on Jonah and Laporta. Boom, right there. So look, Jonah gets the block right there. Wham. And then watch Laporta lay this block on Nick Bolton, number 32, right by the goalpost. Boom. Little hezzy to 6, and he's in. Barely. Monty didn't even get touched. Like, let's see when he actually gets touched, man, because this was so well blocked. I mean, good vision, too. He found the alley. That's great vision. Wow.
Yeah.
He gets touched maybe there on the knee at like the 4.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that we're, you know, again, Ben Johnson talking about, again, some of these runs being schemed for more yardage. Again, David Montgomery choosing and being able to trust his linemen that they're going to, again, get these pulls, right? That Jonah's going to come over, get his block, that Sam Laporta as a rookie is going to get up to this next level and take care of this linebacker. And then it's just like, yo, I just got to run off your back. And then it's on me to beat 6.
Yeah. And like, shout out Panay too, because Panay is bullying like 50 right there. Like, yeah. Panay's got him completely walled off, so he executed perfectly. Taylor Decker's doing his job on the backside. So, you know, 51's completely neutralized. And then, yeah, it's just really like similar to the Jahmyr Gibbs run earlier in the game. They pulled, I believe it was Frank and Jonah, and Jahmyr's job is just to make the lone defender miss. So this is the unblocked defender for this play. Like, this is blocked to perfection. Monty makes 6 right there, whiff. Like, that's a tough situation to be in, because he could run you over, and then he puts that move on you, and you just kind of tap his knee. So that's the first time Monty gets touched. And where is he at? Like the 4?
Yeah.
The 3. So yeah, that's pretty impressive.
And actually, going back to your, like, again, good call on Sewell here, because again, if he doesn't hold this block, right, that's 50. Like 50 could easily have just came off that block. And I mean, I'm sure they could have got it in from the 3 or the 2, wherever he ends up getting tackled. But like, because he holds that block for that extra split second, like, David Montgomery doesn't have to break an additional tackle. He doesn't have to slow his momentum down. And it's just easy walk-in, right? Lions now up 21-20 at this point.
Yep. Exactly. Well, after when they kicked the extra point, right?
Yeah.
So,
the extra point puts them up 21-20. So
this is the game winner. Yeah, I love that they went to this, man. I love Ben Johnson's got, like, he has a fair amount of like new school in him, and then he's got some old school stuff in him too, right? Like, this is, you know, I sometimes forget the nomenclature, but I'm 98% sure these are called wham blocks.
Yeah.
So like, because it's either a wham or a trap, but I believe a trap is if it's not an offensive lineman or a tight end pulling. So it's like, it would be like if Amon-Ra ran over and sealed, that would be a trap.
Gotcha.
See, I flip it up all the time. But either way, if they're pulling and their responsibility is to get over there and wall off, and they're creating this alley, like, you know, Panay blocks down, and you just create, and then David Montgomery's got to find the alley, and then usually you have one unblocked defender if everything's perfect, which it was. And that was it. Didn't even get touched until, well, really he was in, and then he got kind of, you know, hit a little bit, and that was it. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man. And so again, I think this kind of clearly illustrates, again, some of just like the big plays that came out of this game, right? You had the defense and the offense both complementing each other very well. I'm sure, again, if we were listing off even more plays, I'm sure we could have found something in special teams, because this was a win that required all 3 phases to kind of be on, you know, on their P's and Q's. And so I think the three that we kind of highlighted here are you know, three that kind of stand out the most. But if you are watching this video and there's another play that you're thinking of, let us know in the comment section below. Maybe we can kind of, you know, find that clip, put together a short video kind of highlighting that and upload that to our YouTube channel. But again, this is something that, you know, Morgan and I are going to try to do weekly, you know, after each and every game, find these plays. We're hoping to have Ryan join us as well. So there'll be a third person to be a part of these conversations. So again, like just breaking down, you know, I know Jeremy may not necessarily believe in momentum, but like it does. These types of things allow a certain level of energy and confidence to kind of, you know, resonate throughout your team. And it can be the difference between, like, again, make or break. And so right now we highlighted some good things. If the Lions lose, we'll probably highlight some bad things that, again, took away momentum and put them in situations where they weren't able to overcome them.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be objective with it. You know, this wasn't a perfect game, but also they beat the Chiefs on the road. So can't be too upset. And yeah, we're going to keep it objective. If there are, I'm sure there are going to be extra plays that you guys want to see broken down. I probably already have them clipped. So it would just be a matter of us just making another video. We're definitely open to doing that. So let us know. Yeah. This is fun, especially when we get Ryan on here. We have a nice little trio for this.
So again, let us know in the comment section below. Again, any feedback that you have, if you're looking for more information on the Lions or just any like recent articles that Morgan may have written
sounds
yeah,
right.
written is the right word. Because I know you also do articles where you, again, highlight plays specifically and you kind of break them down in article format as well. So if you're looking for, again, even more breakdowns from Morgan, you can always find those on prideofdetroit.com. And like always, if you are new to this channel, if you've never subscribed before, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime we upload any new videos at all. But thank you guys for hanging out with us, Morgan. Appreciate you coming by, man. And we'll see everybody in the next video.